Morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Yes, it's me. Let me see if I can move that mic around and hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Sorry for being late. No, I haven't been in the pub. I am now going to be a teetotaler for as long as possible, right? And there is a reason for that. But the reason I'm late is because I went up the hospital. Do you remember I said I had to go up the hospital? And they had to check my eyes to see if I had glaucoma or they did a test in the opticians and said we want you to go to the hospital because we're not doctors, but we think a doctor needs to look at you. So anyway, cut long story short, gets up there at 3:30, right? They've done all these other funny tests on me, and then they took me into 3 different stages and done an eye scan and done something else, right? I thought it was going to take about 30 minutes. That's all they said. I ended up being in there for nearly 2.5, 3 hours. The guy who started doing the final examination, who was like the doctor, he kept repeating a couple of things and then squirting anaesthetising my eyes. I can't remember what the word is, right? But squirting this stuff in, like, stings like fuck, right? And then looking, he said, "Are you all right there for a minute?" He said, "I just want to leave you there for a sec." I said, "Yeah." And he's gone out. This is where he gets worrying, right? He's coming with a surgeon with all his gear on, and I'm like, "Oh dear." Right? And he said, "Right, I need to do this test again." He said, "I'm a consultant surgeon. I want to have a look at your eyes." And he's gone in and had a look, right? Without majorly panicking, he then finished it to say, "You need to have a particular procedure, and we're putting you down as soon as possible and urgent, right? If you get any pains in your eyes or in your head, and it's painful," and he said, "You'll know what I mean." He said, "Don't go anywhere else but A&E, and then tell them what we've just said, that you need to go to A&E, right? And they will understand what's going on." So when he left, the doctor went to me. He said, "There's a double part of this." He said, "I can't see any further because there's too much pressure in your right eye." And he said, "It almost looks like you've had a mini stroke in the back of your eye." And he said, "But we can't tell what it is. So just letting you know." I said, "Do you think it's because I read too much?" And he just went, "I don't know." He said, "There is something that's caused it, but we're not sure what it is. And therefore, what we don't want is for something bad to happen in and not doing this." And he said, "The best thing that could ever happen is you went to the opticians and they sent you here, because that's what this is it's like a pre-scanning process to see if there's something wrong." And he said, "I can see there's something wrong. We don't know exactly what it is." So anyway, apart from that, just to let you all know, yeah, I've come out there and thought, "Well, right, go for a beer." And then I thought, "Oh, I can't, I'm teetotaling." But yeah, so that they want to look at it, but they said there's a lot of pressure in your right eye. So I've just thought that's the reason I'm late, by the way. And then I had to drive all the way back because it's an hour away. I've got to tell you something. Devon is the most gorgeous. I'm going to try not to swear tonight. The most gorgeous place on the planet, I'll tell you. It didn't matter which way I drove back and drove all the way through North Devon, through to Central Devon, right? It is God's own country, I'm telling you. Every turn that you take is like taking a picture of heaven. Right? I'm just like, you look right. Sometimes you want to stop the car and just look, right? And beautifully green. But anyway, I thought I would add that. But as I do, I will tell you some other bits and pieces. So don't forget, sharing is caring. Don't forget to subscribe. This channel is ticking up. It's got to get over 10,000 subscribers this year. Rumble is a lot more difficult because there is no algorithm and promoting certain people apart from the people they originally pulled over, and I won't go into detail who they are, right? But you only get subscribers on Rumble because of your content, because of continuity, so you're always there. I go live every night, 8 o'clock. I am the only person that only talks about England and only talks about the solution, right, to England's problems. And again, I just want everyone to understand that I am the mouthpiece, nothing more. And we are, I believe, succeeding in many ways. There's some things I wish I could tell you, but I can't. But there are a lot of things happening in the background. There's one thing. Honestly, if I told you one of the things where one of our members contacted me and told me where they was and who they was working for, and then showed me pictures to prove it. I was like, fucking hell, right? And he said, let me tell you something. This guy knows nothing about the Constitution. He said he can't speak, right, without having an auto cue. He is completely useless. He said you would absolutely hammer him on any stage, right? And then he sent me pictures to prove who he was and where he was and who this person was that he was working for. And I was just sitting there. Do you know when you just sit there and you giggle and you think these people have got no idea what's coming, and it's lucky that we're the good guys. Do you understand what I mean by that? We actually believe in the rule of law. We actually believe in the Constitution and a process for removing people. Just to make sure everyone's aware of that. Don't forget, I'm going to come over that tonight, but Makerfield is going to be really important. Makerfield is really important. There is another conference I am going to in October where I have been asked to give a presentation on the English Constitution, and that's another political party. But we're going along as the English Constitution Society. But the person has already also said, I don't mind you speaking about the English Constitution Party and why and how you did it and what your manifesto is, right? I don't mind that. So, and that's a 2-day conference where that other political party is actually paying for us to be there. Not paying for us to be there, but paying for bed and board, etc., etc. And I'll be talking about that at a later date. But there are lots of people looking at us and what we're doing. That it's all right. Certain things make me giggle, right? And no, I haven't had a drink. I'm actually teetotaling. In fact, I need to really go and sort out some water from somewhere because I haven't got none here. Anyway, just to make, there's a couple of things I'm going to show you. The first one, and then we're going to get into some detail about why getting people to the count as trained count agents is so very important, and especially for Restore Britain. You've already seen what, and again, reform was part of the fraud, right? Anyone who went to any of the hearings will understand it, and especially if you went to the election petition hearing in Chester, and there was well in excess of 65 people sitting in a gallery listening to it, who all said that it's obvious what they've done, right? And again, they swapped out the judges, which were, and there was a way that they did that in process. Technically, it was unlawful and abusive process of what they did. That's what these king councils, that's what these dodgy barristers are doing. They are abusing their positions, and they certainly should not be trusted, right, in any way or form. And you're seeing that with the police, you're seeing that with the judiciary, but I will be getting into that and talking you through it. But before I do, I want you to go back and have a look at a particular, it gets a bit shouty at one point, but that's because the mic is so close to me, although I was shouting. If you ever see Daddy DD on a rant in public, then you're about to see it now, right? So people, I said last night I would show it on the show. And bearing in mind, I was on my own because they announced this impromptu leadership speech from Esther McPhee, who I like, by the way. And it was the Bruges group. And all I'm going to do is actually show you me at that event. And this was 2 weeks, I think this is 2 weeks after I had an heart attack. I'm not sure if it was 2018 or 2019. It must have been 2019 I had the heart attack. But I had the heart attack anyway, about 2 weeks prior to this. So imagine me getting up there. I've just gone bomb straight up there, and I'm giving it large at this place. So what I'm going to do is play it for you. I might have to adjust the sound on it. But what I'm trying to say to you is I don't need backup. I have an absolute belief in England. I have an absolute belief in the rule of law. I fully appreciate and understand that all these people are crooks. It is organised crime in the background that is doing this. And the number one biggest thing that they've stolen off you in recent times, apart from your vote, that's the only thing there's continuity with at the moment. Not the rule of law, but the fact that they're stealing your votes at the count. And the only way you can resolve that is to actually vote, right? Because the more you overwhelm the system with getting up and voting, don't forget the demoralisation, which I spoke about before. Anyone telling you not to vote is a communist. Anyone, and if they're not a communist, they're a Jehovah's Witness, which is a cult, right? You must vote. Can everyone hear me, see and hear me before I kick this on? Give me a 5v5 to say that you can see and hear me. Just make sure you've got this. Can I get a 5v5? All right, because there was a few people there saying they couldn't hear me. So what I'm going to do is play this to you so you understand I actually do what I say I'm going to do. I'm not into violence, but it is important that people understand I am an activist, and I will do anything within the realms of constitutional law to keep pushing forward against traitors, right? And again, if you understand what we did when we arrested Sadiq Khan, we pulled the gallows up outside, right? The only thing I didn't have on there was a massive, great big saw, just to prove the point that you get hanged, drawn, and quartered, right? Just to make sure. So I'm going to play this for you now, and you can see me. Look, and again, there was another video which I've got to go and find, which was me ringing into LBC, and she was smiling, and she went, "No, Graham, you did not frighten me. You was angry at us being stitched up over Brexit, and I get that." And she was saying the other people there did as well. No, they don't. They've got no. We voted to leave the European Union, and it was treason going into it. But here goes.
Make sure we stand up for democracy too. The biggest ever democratic vote to get us out of the EU so that we can be a strong sovereign nation who can proudly be on that global stage. Thank you.
Excuse me, you are all fake news and these people are fake conservatives. No, I'm a paid-up member of the Conservative Party, right? I am a paid-up. Robin's touched me 11 years. Let me tell you now, there is a case in the High Court. There is a case in the High Court. Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Xenophobia! Can I call you xenophobia? Just out! You're insane! Totally insane!
We are going to eject you. If you don't, you are not. I've done nothing.
Don't point out to
You touch me again. I'll be arrested.
No. Somebody touched you already. No, what?
Get out.
Out.
Goodbye.
Disgraceful!
Please, Tommy! You can laugh. You you're all supporting her.
What a disgrace!
Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll get that little piece of dandruff. Oh, where's me gone? Wait, let me have a look at this. Stop sharing. Oh, look. Who's this? Hard Talk, David Irving. Maybe you should bring that up. Let me get back over to here. Right, that was a bit clicky. It's a bit, this is not liking what I'm doing here, but it's only because I've got so much open on the screen. Right, so I'm going to put that back on there. Right, did you all see that? Let me go back to the live chat. What you'll notice about that was there was a little foreigner who could just about speak English telling me to get out, right? And that's what you got in the Conservative and Union Party. Oh, I've seized. Can everyone see what? Can everyone see me again? We saw it after the show party. After show party. So, yeah, we had an after show party last night. You all missed that, didn't you? Sometimes if you stay here, I'll come back on, right? And then I showed a few little clips and some bits and pieces of what I was doing. You say you don't touch me. They should take notice. They did take notice, is the answer. Let me tell you something. They was just about to grab hold of me, and I said, "Don't touch me." Right? I'm not going to say too much in reference to anyone there, but I think they knew they was afraid. If they had touched me, I had the right in front of all them cameras to defend myself. Right? And that's exactly what I would have done. I was a number of people was invited to that, and I was invited to go. I went there very early, right? Got right in front of the lectern, sat right there, waited. Esther got up, smiled at me. I waved at her. She got up there. I was sitting there all nice like that. As soon as she got off that lectern, I was straight up there, right? Now, people say you. What's that? Someone ruffled your hair, DD. Is my hair all ruffled up? Or was it in that one? It was all ruffled up. But my point to you all is we are activists. We're activists from England, right? There's a badge I got the other day in Devon when I went along to that Emma Dunwell and Sandy Adams event. There was a guy come up and give me a little England badge, and he was actually putting him out a little stall in there and everything, right? People are getting it. And by the way, where I went to the hospital in Barnstable, there was all English in there. Virtually everyone spoke English. Everyone, all the different people and nurses, all most of the doctors, not all, were English. Most of the pharmacy was English. Most of the people and patients were English, right? And I can sort of get why people from Devon don't understand especially what Londoners or people from Leeds or Bradford or Leicester, all of these other places. They've only really started to understand what's going on when the government started putting all these foreigners in local hotels to them, right? But what they don't realise, and by the way, Devon is 90. I think it's 98%, 98.8% white. It's a target. Cumbria's a target. Devon's a target. Norfolk, Suffolk are targets. Northumberland, big target, and they've already started smashing it there, right? And there's a particular reason why they're doing it. I've gone all through this on other shows. This is a structured plan that they're following, right? And one of the things everyone should understand is they're not going to stop. And when you think that London, and I don't care what anyone tells you, right? There's 20 million at least living in London. 15 million of them are foreigners. Less than 5 million are actually English, right? The Londoners have been displaced, right? most of us haven't run away to Tenerife or any other country. We've stayed here, right? We've retrenched into places and gone back into places. Why my screen keeps... that is very odd. My screen keeps freezing for some reason. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Let me kill that. Quit. I think. Quit. Let me see if I can kill this, because there's something that takes a lot of my memory up. I've got it running there, but false quit what? False quit, that one. False quit. False quit. Touch wood, that's took it out of the game. If it's taken it out of memory, I should be fine. Let me take that one out as well. False quit. False quit. I'm not interested in that. I just want that to get off my screen. Hopefully that'll be a bit better. Good evening to everyone out there. So, the other side of this, for everyone to have a quick look at, hopefully I can bring this up on the screen. I'm not sure if it's going to be on there, but let's get that out of the way. Why has that done that? Something is not working. Unless I've accidentally kicked a screen out. I'm not sure how I would get this up for you to see it. Let's get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. Right, and then pull this over if I can. Right. Right, so I'm just going to show you this. I'll bring it up on the screen, and then we're going to get on to the real discussion that I need to talk about. There's other videos of me being arrested outside Buckingham Palace. There's video, and there was lots and lots of video, but there was loads of stuff on my original YouTube channels, right? And they took them all down. They took me down off of Facebook. They took me down off of Twitter. They took me down off of everything, right? The reason they do that is because you're showing the public and you're actually telling them the truth, right? So what I'm going to do is just go through this, right? Here's the video you're likely looking for. I found it on Grok. Esther McVeigh, often misspelled McPhee, was interrupted during her 2019 Conservative leadership campaign launch speech in central London. Main video, 2 to 3 minutes long. Esther McVeigh speech interrupted, blah, 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 and it gives you the actual link to it. A pro-Brexit protester, Graham Moore, stormed the stage at the Bruges Group event and they're fake conservatives, Bruges Group event, after her speech, shouting, "You are all fake news and these people are all fake conservatives." Right? I couldn't have made it clearer. He was upset about Brexit delays and a related court case. Security removed him. Security didn't remove me. I left. Other sources, ITV News, it was on ITV News, it was on all of these things. My brother watched it and rang me up, and I was sitting indoors after, past 1 in the afternoon. And he went, "You all right?" I went, "Yeah, what? Has she been out or anything today?" I went, "Yeah, I popped up into London." He said, "There's a geezer on Sky News who's jumped up on a lectern and said you're all fake news and you're all fake conservatives." He said, "Did I look like you and sound like you?" And I went, "Yeah, that was me." And he went, and he couldn't stop laughing. He said, "Everyone's watching it." I said, "Good." But the point being, Sky News clip, similar footage, search hecklers rants about fake news during blah, blah, blah. And they're calling me a heckler there. But there was more about that, because it says Graham Moore is a British activist, and that should say English, known for English nationalist views, right? Constitutional advocacy, heavy emphasis on the Magna Carta. My emphasis, by the way, is on the English Bill of Rights. And they don't like talking about that. And high-profile Brexit-related protests. He leads the English Constitution Party and has a history of direct action. often involving citizens' arrests, court challenges, and disruptions. Citizens' arrest, which we'll get onto, which was Sadiq Khan, right? Key Brexit protest interrupting Esther McVeigh 2019. And there you can see the images on the screen. Moore gained attention on 10th of June 2019 when he stormed the stage at Esther McVeigh's Conservative leadership campaign launch in London, a Bruce Group event. He shouted that McVeigh and other MPs were fake news and fake Conservatives, accusing them of betraying Brexit. He claimed the UK had already legally left the EU on the 29th of March 2019. That was absolutely true, and it still is to this day, right? And demanded media coverage of related court actions. Security removed him after he warned others not to touch him, right? And there it is there. He later called into McVeigh's LBC radio show to explain his actions and apologise if he scared her. Moore ran a pro-Brexit site arguing the UK had already exited, right? And we had, legally. That was a superb case. It was read by retired appeal court judges who confirmed their opinion that we had left with no deal. In other words, the whole thing was dead and buried, right? White Pen Dragons involvement. Moore was an early leader of the White Pen Dragons, a pro-Brexit, pro-Trump group active around 2017, 2018. They blended direct action with online activism and Magna Carta references and the Bill of Rights. In January 2018, they disrupted a Fabian Society event with Sadiq Khan, attempting a citizen's arrest. We didn't attempt it. We citizen arrested him and Keir Starmer, right? While shouting pro-Brexit and anti-Islamic slogans. I don't remember any anti-Islamic slogans, but they brought a mock gallows. So it's recorded that we actually did that. And the gallows was outside. There's pictures of it if you want to go and see any of that. And like I say, the only thing we never brought was the saw. Moore later left the group amid internal disputes, but continued activism. I have always continued what I'm doing, right? I have one cause and one cause only, and that is England. I don't like saying this in the way it sounds. There is an inner circle, and then people, we have never fallen out, right? We are only about England. We are all Christians. And there's some external people that are not Christians, but they're not part of the inner circle, but they are listened to. The English Constitution Party and later activism, Moore led the English Constitution Party, registered around 2021. I told everyone why we did that. We was asked to. The public basically said, and it was to do with COVID. In other words, the fake COVID bullshit, focusing on English nationalism, English nationalism. We're about English constitutionalism, restoring the English constitution, opposing coercion, e.g., COVID restrictions, vaccines, fishing industry support, which is 100%. I do that, and anti-globalism. So the antithesis to globalism is nationalism, right, or nationism. If you don't like the word nationalism because it has connotations of socialism, and I get that, nationism is what we're about. The English Constitution is about us as a nation. He has stood in elections with low vote shares, including Southend West by-election. That was a sad one. David Amos died. But we was there. We got called all sorts of names, right? Runcorn and Helsby by-election 20th, where he came last, right? So what they're not mentioning is the 50 votes of the other one I stood in 9 years earlier in Tooting, where Sadiq Khan stood down, and I got exactly 50 votes, right? People would start to say, hang on a minute. How can the same candidate in a different demographic get exactly 50 votes, right? And this is where it leads us on, and we're going to talk about fraud at the count. Votes launched, ultimately dismissed. Legal challenges alleging fraud, irregularities, incurring significant costs, right? He holds seminars on common law, citizen rights, and English and the English Constitution, often referencing historical documents. His rhetoric emphasises English identity over British self-determination and a scepticism of mainstream politics. Right? It's not a scepticism. Mainstream politics is organised political crime. Broader context, Moore's protests tie into hardline Brexit frustration, feeling the process was betrayed, English sovereignty and constitutional literalism. Critics, e.g. Hope Not Hate, there's an accolade for you, describe his circles as far-right or conspiratorial. Supporters see him as a defender of ancient rights and working-class interests. Right? I've got to be honest with you. So does Hope Not Hate. They've actually made a reference to me sticking up for working class English people. He remains active in rallies, interviews, and legal actions as of 2025-2026. Videos of his McVeigh interruption and speeches are widely available on YouTube. Let me know if you'd like links to specific rallies, interviews, or deeper dives into his court cases. Right. And you can bring up everything you want. It is garbage in, garbage out is something that I need to reference to people, right? In system engineering, and particularly in computer programming and design, there is something called GIGO, right? Garbage in, garbage out. That means if you put the wrong data in, you'll get the wrong data out, right? AI is basically scraping Wikipedia and many of these websites that were written by communists, Marxists, and fascists, right? Because they're the same people. Don't listen to anyone giving you any difference to that. They're all authoritarian, right? Understand what I'm trying to tell you. The English don't do that. I showed you that last night. Showed you in the law book where it says you can't have that. And English, we developed a completely different system to the rest of Europe, and we exported it to America, and we exported it to Commonwealth countries. We exported it to Africa. Rhodesia, South Africa, were thriving parts of Africa until the English, in effect, left. Right, and if you go and speak to anyone, they'll tell you it was better. It was better when the system was operating as a common law jurisdiction and under the true constitution, not the common purpose or Fabian constitution, which is what they put in place in Southern Ireland in 1937. And now you've seen Southern Ireland turn to a pile of shit. Right, that's what they do everywhere. But all they want to do is blame the English, and basically, like all narcissistic type people, including the people who get to the top, they haven't got the ability themselves. They're all show. Often they haven't got the brains they were born with, and do not accept that they've done anything wrong. That's typically what they've done. So just to make sure everyone's got that, don't forget sharing is caring, right? Share the videos, and especially this video, because it explains a few things about who I really am, right? My convictions for England, my conviction for England, it will never change. I'm an Englishman. That's it. I'm not interested in anything else. I'm only interested in England and the people of England. Whether you come from Cumbria, whether you come from Northumberland, whether you come from Suffolk, whether you come from Norfolk, whether you come from Devonshire, or whether you come from any of these places, it is you that I'm interested in. And as constituents in an area, for example, Central Devon, I'm seeing a lot of people, and it annoys me, when some of these Londoners have come out here and they keep stom about what they've seen, they don't want to be called a racist. And what the people of Devon don't realise, our capital city has already been taken. Right? I'm telling you now, the capital city's gone. It has been regionalised by the EU, and the person who led us into that was the Conservative and Union Party, right? The Unionists are responsible for the destruction of England. And people better wake up a bit lively to what's actually going on, right? And no one is that far away. No other shire is that far away. And by the way, if you go onto the English Constitution Party's website, you will see an English versus British subsection, and there's a video there showing, and they've used the same blueprint for America because they need to destroy the common law and the common law constitution. That's what their objective is. That's their main objective. And once people understand that, we'll go from there. So, and also subscribe, right? So the biggest thing to everyone here, there's a couple of things I want to show you because I do think they're funny. I keep looking at all these photographs, and different people in the background are sending me little photographs. And when you look at the photographs, I'm seeing our members in the Restore Britain photos. Like, I'm like, good. And what I've said is, and they're all good people. None of them are nasty. They're constitutionalists. They're about England. And they're also giving me feedback of what people are like and what people are doing and what they're saying. So let's get on to the second part of this, because I think it is really important that everyone understands what it is that we're doing here. Hopefully, I can find this for you. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but yeah, try it on there. Let's see if it gives me some history. What was that? Chat history. I'm not sure if I've got to do that on my phone because I brought it up. I want to read this out to you, but I'll bring it up on the screen. What does that mean? I'm glad you ain't got the yellow top on it. Well, don't why that? I have got the yellow top. It's upstairs somewhere. Don't have a go at my yellow top. Let me have a look here. Chester Pants, Rusty Furman. Let me have a look and see what else we got here. Janet calls. No. I have to be careful when I'm reading this shit out. Right, hang on a minute. Oh, I've got to show you this. I'm going to have to show you this. Right, I'm getting my badges all sorted out, right? Bearing in mind I don't drive a Rolls Royce. Let's see if I can bring you that up on the screen, right? Archive, not that one. Not that one. Where have we gone? There it is there. I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. Just so you, if you, and there's another couple that I'm waiting for, right? But just on the back of my car, I'll put it up on the screen just so you can see it. Right there it is. There. What do you notice? There it is. Devon, right? You should be flying the English flag and the Devonshire flag, and then I'm waiting for the other one to come across, and it goes on the other side there, and that's basically everything. Now, if you've got any of that information on your car in London, you risk having your windows smashed and your wheel nuts undone and all sorts of stuff, right? Trust me, it ain't a game. Let me just make sure I'm up there and I can bring this up. And what was the other one? And just in case you think I have never met this fella, and there's a few people out there that will know this fella as we speak. And yes, let me have a look. I'll see if I can bring it back down on the screen. Do you all know this fella? People wanted me to go on his show, but I haven't been on it yet. There you go. That was when I did a conference out in Texas. And he is a really nice fella, and so's his team, to be honest with you. And we had a proper conversation, a beer, a drink, and all that. And then we was all doing the actual conferences there. It was fantastic. So let's give people a shout out. How many people we've got running there? Tracy Tourism, Spooky, Baba, is that there? Holla, 26. Kew Gardens, Keck Rangel, Lionheart, Ace Jace, Evening Graham, Marion Maria Mechanic, is that? Steve Turley, yeah. Doctor Steve Turley. Stafford Dron, I know a few doctors, doctorate of whatever, psychology, etc. Having a proper conversation in the background. Gooner Mum, Steve Turley, yeah, that's it, he's on the screen, you've all got his name. I mean, laugh out loud. Spooky Baba. Holy England, do we have a large Constitution flag reference in the shop? I think we've got a similar Constitution flag in the English Constitution Society. The actual flag of England, whether it's the St George's Cross, which technically I don't agree with. I believe we should go back to the Withen or the pure white dragon on a red background, because that was the battle standard of the English. And I could go into the history of that, but I won't. But it's hard enough persuading people that they're English, not British, without then arguing that the St George's flag isn't the English flag. You don't want to get involved in them arguments, not just yet anyway. To wait to the branch meeting tomorrow. I mean, you can get ceremonial real English flags with a dragon on it, and people understand what that means. Works out. Graham, do you know anything about Adrian Fulford? I was reading some crazy stuff about him. You'd have to tell me. I've heard that name. I might do. Wilnut, Nuts are tight. Jason is out there. Merry old England. Question if England was regionalised and then the EU collapsed, what would happen then? Would the counties and shires be automatically restored? No, they wouldn't, because they're doing it domestically as well, and it would cause a great deal of problems. It basically, it's a way of systematically destroying England, and that's what you've got to be so careful of. Let me know. Do you mean Benjamin Fulford? I don't know. I'll just see it in the chat. I'm here to make sure there are no trolls. And if I can't understand what you're saying, you could be a troll. I'm sure you understand. Anyway, right. I am now getting back to this other position that I need to talk about, right? If I can find it again. That was the main one on there. I wanted to show you. Oh, what I was doing was getting it on here and then transferring it over. So it is important because I want to go through this. And I had a really interesting conversation with one of our members today, a lovely lady that is very helpful. All right, and she made a suggestion, and I said, it's funny you should say that because I've been thinking the same thing. And she thinks she's having a brain fart. People say brain fart when they think, oh, it might not be a good idea. Listen, just put your ideas forward. Some ideas. Let me see if that's the one I had it on. I don't think it's come up there, and I've got to try and find which one it was. So if I went in there, nope. What do I want to do? I want to look on that, go on there, and somehow I need to find the history. How do I go on the history on Grok? Oh, there it is. There it is. I found it. So I think I may be able to do that by going on to Grok on here. Let's go on Grok on there. Go on history. Where's my history file? There it is. Election bundle. Right. I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this, right? So I'm going to bring it up and read it out to you. It is a readout, but I've tried to get Grog and me to get this point across, right? It's really, 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 really simple, but people don't understand how it is that they're stealing votes off you, right? And they are valuable. They're in effect stealing the country, right? And that's what the Labour Party, and now it is switched to the Greens. What they're doing is artificially making it look like the Greens, as being the most extreme, are taking control, right? So election count fraud warning, bundle swapping, vote padding technique, right? So it's on the screen if anyone wants to see this. If anyone wants me to try and send it to them as a printout, I'll try and do that. But it's crucial that people in Restore Britain understand what this is about. And then I can tell you there are a number of ways in which we can help. But I don't think it should be for us to foot the bill of it, right? And I'm not talking about a fortune either. But it starts, so I'm going to explain some things to people that you should understand, right? Core method, simple and hard to spot without vigilant per bundle scrutiny, right? Counters or insiders take a genuine bundle of ballots, e.g. 50 votes, mostly for candidate A. They then place a small number of ballots for candidate B at the top and or the bottom of the stack, right? So they back and front it. Count or record the entire bundle as if it was overwhelmingly or entirely for candidate B, when actually it's for candidate A, right? The middle ballots for A are effectively stolen and redistributed without tearing up or discarding ballots. So everyone thinks they're getting rid of ballots and taking away. That's not how they do this, right? You're being misled. This creates plausible deniability. The bundle looks legitimate on a quick scan or high-level audit, especially if observers are kept at distance, which they do when they put the bundles into the middle area, because the observers are back there and they do not allow cameras in there to look at it, right? That needs to be changed as well. But there are ways in which you can put checks in that stop this, right? Scan high level, especially if observers are kept at a distance or the count moves fast. With only a limited number of party agents, even up to 10, right? So you're only allowed to have 10 count agents in there. This is why count agents are so important. And each one must have the bottle to call over the returning officer and say, I'm not happy with this. I want to have a look inside that bundle, right? You must do it, and you must record every time you've done it at the count, because when it goes to the election petition, the court will say, hang on a minute, they've told you all about this. They've requested 5 or 6 times that they weren't happy with that, right? And there is something else I'm going to talk to you about as well, right? So many counting protocols, why it works against standard processes. Many counting protocols rely on batch totals rather than 100% individual ballot verification in real time. Auditors, reviewers often check summary sheets or sample bundles. So the auditors review sample bundles. So they're given the sample bundles and they're given a bit of paper to say, do you want to check this off? This is what the returning officer was saying in the High Court. These are our checks and balances on this system. We audit it, blah, blah, blah. And I asked her the question, are all the people that are doing the count and the auditing, are they from Houghton Borough Council? Do they work are they within this constituency? And she said no. Some of them come from St Helens, some of them come from Liverpool, they come from different, because they have been trained in the fraud, right? People need to understand this. It ain't a game, right? Auditors, reviewers often check summary sheets or sample bundles, not every ballot and every stack. Collusion between counters and auditors or intimidated weak oversight. So what they do is try and intimidate you, right? So Labour will get all their people in there and as if they own the count, or Conservative will get in, out of my way, right? As if you're some sort of scum, right? This is where you need to train people, and preferably people that are already auditors and understand, because I'm going to go on to something else here, retail auditing, right? Don't forget, this is a standard type fraud, right? And this is what we're going to get into. So their intimidation of people at the count is what they do, right? And you need to be highly focused, have enough confidence to call foul and say, listen, I've seen this. I want a steward's inquiry on them bundles, blah, 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 blah. There was a guy called Billy Hayward. It happened to him at an event. This happened in a big way in 2009 at the Doncaster election. And they stood up and said, we ain't having this. 5,000 BNP ballots were put in the bundles of the Labour Party, right? So it isn't necessary, but they could have put them in the Green Party. It's just to remove the ballots and change what is the actual real opinion of the nation. That's what they're trying to show, that they're winning. It's a bit like when they made everyone wear masks for COVID, right? It wasn't because it protected you, is they needed a visual of their psychological reframing and their terrorism of the public. They needed seeing evidence that it was working, right? And there was no greater evidence than, people going into a restaurant and taking their mask off to eat and then putting it back on again, or driving around in their car with their windows done up with a mask on, right? There was no greater evidence of idiocy and those people being subjected to hive mind mass hypnosis, right? Well, all of this is about psychology. These people know exactly what. This is one of the reasons why, if you go back to my earliest writings 15 years ago, I said that you should make it a criminal offence to use psychology against the public. If you are a psychologist and you are using your skills politically against the people, you should be sent to prison for life, because that is just as bad as murder, because you're fucking with people's minds. That's why so many people, believe it or not, in and I can't remember the location, but it was near to Wales, loads of young kids committed suicide. Well, the USSR had the highest suicide rate in the world, right? Using psychology against people should be the ultimate in the sentence that you are given, right? So not necessarily hang them, but certainly they should go prison for life for abusing other people's minds, right? So let me get back onto this, why it works against standard processing, etc. Many accounting protocols rely on batch totals rather than 100%. I've gone through that bit. This is not limited to postal mail-in ballots, right? So everyone keeps concentrating on postal or mail-in ballots. That is part of the problem. It's not the biggest part of the problem. The biggest part of the problem is the fraud itself, right? So retail analogy, and this is where any retail businesses out there, retirees, retiree auditors, retiree people that really understand the process of doing an inventory or stock take and the audit of the stock take and understanding this fraud. Them retirees, right, who are experienced, have got the bottle to stand up, who know what they're looking for, know what they're looking at, right? They should be approaching Restore Britain to say, you need to be able to train people in this type of fraud, right? It's not difficult, right? Because they can go and get you tomorrow and you could be called in to do a stock take somewhere and they will say to you, we need to give you 2 days training. And you go, yeah, that's fine. And then you're shown how the fraud works. They will be absolutely terrorized if they know, right, that you're watching for the fraud and that you are prepared to call it out every time you see it at that count, right? And then I'm telling you now, you've got a good chance of winning if you then persuade the people to come out and vote, because they've been demoralised by this fraud, right? It's one of the ways they've demoralised people. So again, retail analogy widely understood. So in other words, the stock take, inventory stock take, and the inventory stock fraud is widely known, right? It's very similar fraud. That's why I'm bringing this up as an analogy. This is why people in Restore Britain need to understand what is going on, right? And it's one of the reasons why Trump was so big on taking these people down for literally defrauding the election, right? Because it is treason, right? So what exactly like inventory stock fraud in business audits, a company and its auditors collude to overstate assets. They show auditors a shelf that looks full, good items on top and bottom, cheap, fake, wrong items, or empties in the middle. They can have empty boxes. It'll have the same weight, and they've checked them, and they think, and it could be a load of, I don't know, rags in the middle boxes of a load of t-shirts, but on the top there's a box and on the bottom there's a box, and they've got the real t-shirts in, but two other boxes above that, which is double the stock or even the stock, right? It is not t-shirts, right, or whatever it is. Overstate the assets. They show auditors a shelf that looks full, goods on the item top and the bottom, cheap, fake, wrong items, or empties in the middle. Shareholders, voters, are deceived by falsified totals. The fraud is committed by the counters and auditors together, right? Not just low-level staff. So the geezers, the people around the edge of the tables, that when you're at account, they're just counting and putting them in the thing. They're not the ones doing the fraud because all of the eyes are on them. It's the people in the middle that you can't see as account agent, which is why you need to have people trained on them and you need to be able to call it out, right? Demand full visibility and the right to examine both ends and representative middle ballots of every counted bundle. Are you listening to this? Because this is important. Insist on slow enough counting and enough trained agents, observers, so that swaps cannot be hidden. Now, I just want to make sure that you understand this. You're only allowed to have 10, right? They do that for a reason. But if you had two independents that you knew, or the English Constitution Party standing there, which I've said we won't stand against them, but you was there as paper candidates, you would increase Restore Britain's count agents. Let's say you've got two on the ticket, two independents, or the English Constitution Party and an independent. That means you've now got 30 count agents. Right? Listen to what I've just said. And then all of them people are trained in the same way to look for that and will call it out. You could all wear badges saying that you're supporting Restore Britain, right? But people would know we're not tolerating this fraud. If we stand in an election, this is what we're going to do, right? It creates a massive problem for them, right? Push for video recording of every counting table plus random full bundle audits, not just totals, right? And again, that's what we did in the election court, the petition, and the two judges that we ended up with were swapped out by an abusive process appeal that we won 3-0. But the only reason they'd done the appeal, and it was such a weak case, it was almost laughable, right? Which is why I understand how Andrew Bridgen feels, where he's just had to go through a directions hearing, right? And that they're coming out with absolute nonsense. And the point being is because they can. The King's Counsel involved with Matt Hancock is just one of them disgusting frauds, right? just to make sure everyone's aware how strongly I believe that the legal situation in this country is so corrupted to the core. That you need to. And by the way, the only other person who dealt with the judiciary was Oliver Cromwell, right? I just want to make sure everyone understands that Oliver Cromwell dealt with the crookedness of the judiciary, right? Push for video recording of every counting and table. They don't allow video recording, and there's a reason for it, because they know that the fraud itself will be recorded, right? Treat summary sheets with suspicion. The summary sheets are the ones where they do the other tally up and they say, yeah, everything tallies, right? Well, if you've done the swap inside the bundle, the tallies do look right. But the individual ballots inside them, that they have been allocated to the wrong person, the wrong candidate, right? Underlying bundles were not independently verified. This technique defeats weak oversight even when total ballots cast match records. The fraud is in the reallocation. Exactly that. The fraud is in the reallocation, right? Not creation or destruction of ballots. It's in the reallocation. The reallocation, right? And sometimes, I mean, when you look at what happened in Batley and Spen with George Galloway, that was the most out. I mean, I was literally had steam coming out my ears at the end. And don't forget, I do not support the politics of George Galloway, right? But I see him there. I shook his hand and I said, "They've robbed you." I'm not suggesting he won, but he definitely come a close second, and that's not what they wanted people to see in the north, right? And there was an outrageous fraud there. And I said to the police who was standing there, "You have watched this fraud and allowed it to happen," right? Key message to broadcast: election integrity requires verifying every bundle, not just totals or the intermediary totals, which is what they've been doing. Basically summary sheets, not just totals. This is why it's so important at the count, right? Vote swapping at the bundle level, hiding opposing votes in the middle while padding the visible top bottom, right, is known physical counting fraud, right? Limited observers make it easy. So if the less observers you've got, so the more observers you've got, the better you got if you're going to capture this fraud, right? And I am telling everyone who's listening to this, right? I am a systems engineer. I understand fraud. There's nothing better for me as a if you want to describe me as an activist ex-offender. I hate banks, right? With a vengeance, right? But I know what they do and how they do it, right? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the system. I'm looking for how they do it. The same as if I was working casino security, I'll be looking, if I knew someone was abnormally getting something on a table that they shouldn't be, I know he's at it. But what is he doing? And then you're watching and analysing to find how is he or she doing it, right? And it could be that they're in it with the croupier. It could be they're in it with the dealer. You don't know what the situation is. That's why there's cameras everywhere on every table in a casino, right? Where's the cameras on every table? Where's everyone being watched in that process? They keep the middle part of the process, the tally, the summarization, the final tally, the bundles. No one can see what's going on, right? Not fully. You need eyes in there, right? And the more eyes you've got, they must know we ain't tolerating this, and they must understand we will take this to an election petition court. Do you understand that, right? Now, we've already had a situation where Reform started bleating about the last one and about the post office throwing away their ballots. And the arguments they're using, right, are the same arguments, right? They've literally plagiarized what I've said in a previous case, in that case, right? They're disgusting. Reform are disgusting. Sarah Pouchin is a fraud, right? And people must know to get Rebecca elected, we have to back her, and we need to back Restore to stop the fraud, right? So again, just to make sure, it's known as physical counting fraud. Limited observers make it easy. Demand real scrutiny, or the count cannot be trusted. Right? Exactly that. This description is neutral, factual, and focused on a mechanism so parties, monitors, and the public know exactly what the vulnerability to watch for and mitigate. Right? You can never stop fraud completely. Right? Listen. Why it is, I don't know, but human beings want to do something. I hate banks with an absolute passion, right? They don't have money, right? They have beer tokens. If you actually look at the monetary system, 97% of all currency is created by private banks. That is not money. That is what they create on a balance sheet. And then they charge you interest for it, right? I'm just telling you. I hate banks with a passion. Just so everyone gets where I'm coming from. And I've got to tell you, they don't like me much either. Right. Because they don't like people that can analyse their system, see what's going on, and say, this is how you... But there's lots of people out there like me, and are not activists, and won't do things like that, and won't risk, like that. It's obvious, isn't it, what they're going to say? You're this big bad man, you're this, and all that. And I'm saying, listen, you've been fucking ripping us off for thousands of fucking years, right? First time I've sworn throughout this, I think, right? I can't stand banks. Anyway, the next part of this, again, I don't know. Restore Britain's energy policy has come out, right? So I'm sitting there thinking, this is going to be fun, right? So I don't know if you know what my pet hate is. Well, one of my pet, I've got lots of pet hates, but one of them, believe it or not, is potholes, especially as a motorcyclist, right? And then they're charging us. I'm not driving a motorcycle anymore. I think I'm getting too old to hit potholes at 60 mile an hour, right? And come off, because you ain't going to survive it. Yet they're charging you for road tax and charging you for this and charging you when your vehicle, in effect, your motorcycle, is causing the least amount of damage to the roads, right? But then what they did, and I'm going to give you a comparison to this as well, because I think it's really important to understand. Anyone, listen, don't be embarrassed. Anyone got an electric vehicle out there in the chat? Because I'm about to give you a quick demonstration on physics, right? And I'm trying to, the only reason I'm doing this is because I really do want people to understand what I'm saying. I was actually going to show you and put more detail into that. I've got a book here about elections that's 300 years old, original, right? But I'm going to show you something. Someone got an electric. They're going to like this one, right? I'm going to show you why I think you should be paying £5,000 a year in tax, right? So what I'm drawing you is the. I'm drawing on the screen that, right? Now that's really a little bit bigger than a postcard, right? Imagine that, right? That's the actual vehicle. So that's the electric vehicle. The average weight of an electric vehicle, right? Average weight is 2.5 tons. Slightly larger ones, the SVUs or whatever they're called, you know, like the bigger 4-wheel drive ones, are like 3.5 ton, right? So for those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about in tonnage, and I will get to the point in a couple of minutes, imagine that these weights are the equivalent of putting a 3.5 ton Luton van. You know them big Luton vans you see running around, fully loaded, or a truck with the sides on it, and it's a builder's van. It's fully loaded to 3.5 ton. Putting an EV on the road is the equivalent to that weight. So imagine all of that increased traffic. But what you have here, right, that point there, is something called point pressure, right? And point pressure, it's a bit like me. You know what pressure points are, don't you? If there's a nerve on your neck and I touch it with my thumb, it will cause you a lot of pain, right? It's called point pressure, and if you push on it, it'll alert you more. I can push in many places, but if I was to target that area, right? So what you've got to understand is the resurfacing and the building of roads was designed, and there's a funny part of this story at the end if you really want me to make you laugh about it. Our roads were built for, on average, for 1.5 ton vehicles. It's why when you go out into the country, you'll see little signs up and says low weight bridge, 3.5 ton, nothing over 7 tons, nothing over 3.5 tons, etc., etc. But if it keeps getting hit at quite high speed by 2.5 ton and 3 ton, but what is point pressure? Right, point pressure is this part of the tyre or tyres, right? Just that little part. All of the weight of the vehicle is on them, right? And bearing in mind, when they brought in electric vehicles, they told everyone, right? There's the tyre marks. They told everyone, and this is only a tiny part of the tyre that touches the ground. That's why I'm talking about point pressure. If I was to take in a 500 ton mobile crane onto a site, right, and I'm the supervisor, and then there's one point above that, but on the crane supervisor, I want to see the inspection that when we put the outriggers out of that 500 ton crane, so the outriggers come out, right? Everyone should understand that. Hang on a minute, let me go back to my FaceTime camera. Right, let me go back to that one. For some strange reason, I'm not on the screen, but I don't know why I'm not on the screen. But anyway, forget that. If I put them outriggers out, we have to test and we have to do a ground survey to make sure there's nothing underneath it. There's no sewers underneath it. There's no this underneath it. That the ground, we do a pressure test on the ground to make sure that the ground is solid underneath that crane. Because if we pick that weight up and we start to turn that crane, right, and any part of that soil gives way, the whole fucking crane goes over with whatever it's carrying as well, right? It's highly dangerous and you have to do it, right? You have to have a look at it. So point pressure, that's almost similar to a mobile crane and then putting out its outriggers, but that's the weight. So each one of them new EVs is carrying 2.5 to 3.5 ton. The average normal car, right, is 1.5 ton or less. All right, that's the thing that you've got to understand. The average car, yeah, that's what our roads have been designed to take. But then the government, in their ultimate wisdom, said, let's bring these. Does everyone understand that there's been like multi-story car parks throughout the world that have collapsed with loads and loads of EVs parked in them, right? And it's because the multi-story car park wasn't designed for that load, right? You're putting so much pressure, it's just going to collapse, right? Well, our roads are the same, because what our roads have got, they've got. The actual road is made like that, and that's the solid part of the road. But on the top of the road, that part there, that's almost a dressing, right? So when they say they're resurfacing a road, they're not doing the underlining road. They're putting a new part of resurfacing on. But when that point pressure comes down on there, and it's at serious tonnage, which is 2.5 to 3.5 ton, and the increase of that, and especially in country lanes, all right, and everywhere else. But here's the kicker. I said to you about point pressure. When you turn, so this is the bit, it sounds complex, but it's not. It's really easy, right? If I was to increase the point pressure of 2.5 ton, right, or 3.5 ton, right, on each tyre is like that, right. If you're going at 10 miles an hour, right, 10 miles an hour, the point pressure increases from 3.5 ton to, let's say, and I'm not giving you the exact figures here, to 10 ton, right? If you're doing 20 mile an hour, it increases to 20 ton. If you're doing 30 mile an hour, it increases to 30 ton. Imagine what it's like on a country lane at 60 mile an hour, and now you understand why they've started to say we need to decrease the speed limits, right? Because they know they fucked up in a big way. Not only have they fucked up the design and implemented this, these people were paying no road tax, right? No road tax. They might have just put it on now. I'm not interested in that. I'm saying to introduce these vehicles, no road tax. So everyone is saying this is great for the environment, but now we've destroyed our roads. We now have to resurface much, much more. We're sending out other vehicles and diesel lorries and creating queues of traffic with puffs of smoke everywhere because these people introduced this level, right? This level of tonnage onto a road system it wasn't designed for. This is what you call thick as shit, right? Because when you look at the point pressure, now what I'm going to do is get into a bend, right? So there's a small bend going that way, a small bend going that way. Every time you turn that steering and you're pushing, so you're now doing 30 mile an hour on that bend. You're also turning, you're increasing, even at 30 mile an hour, you're saying 30 ton, right? You're now increasing that by whatever the percentage is. That's the way it works. So you're now, in every bend, you have now increased it by 50 tons. That's what I'm trying to get over to you, is why they're destroying the roads. And yet, they're telling everyone what a wonderful thing it is. And I'm looking at them thinking, you're destroying the roads, right? And yet these people with EVs are for some reason think it's better, and then they turn around to you and say, oh yeah, but it costs in with the price of fuel. So what they do then, they make the price of fuel go up, right? And in the end, right, I did say to you, I will tell you something funny, which is what I'm going to do now. Mind you may not think it's that funny. Believe it or not, the old cobbled lanes and the way that we used to build country lanes and cobbled streets in our cities were much. They was actually better than what we've got now. So the cobbled streets were laid in a different way and took the tonnage, because you often had 2 or a 3/4 of a ton to a 1 ton horse that side, a 1 ton. So say if you got a buggy or a device, you're pulling a large cart or whatever it is that you're pulling, an old bus laden with 20 people on it, right? It's a serious weight, right? Our old system was much more capable of handling that. And then what did we do? We went and took it all out. Here's the kicker, right? And when I was 18 years old, I was on a contract that was doing exactly this. They were stripping out all of the electrics for the milk yards, the dairies where they had all the milk vans, and they was electric, and they was serious tonnage, but they was very slow, right? So you didn't get the massive point pressure of speed, right? But all of those buildings, this is the part that was really hard, had granite floors that were like that thick, right? And they was all in giant slabs laid. They was massive, right? And then all the milk trucks would come in, milk floats would come in, they'd plug in all the day, the rest of the day, and the next morning they'd be ready to go out. So we had electric vehicles, right? But to accommodate for that, they had massive thick slabs of granite floors. And how do I know that? Because I was one of the silly bastards who had to fucking take the granite floors out, right? And I was paid to do it, right? Not realising later on it would fit a puzzle of why are they doing this, right? So that I wanted to say I haven't read Restore Britain's energy policy yet. One of the things that I am really, really pleased about, and I haven't got anything to show you of that size here, is they're talking about modular or I forget what the word that they use for it, but nuclear, right? So what do I mean by I'm trying to find if I've got anything here I can actually show you. Maybe in my glasses case. Well, that's a bit. The thing is, I'll tell you what. I will get something because I do like doing demonstrations to people. It's something that I saw in America, right? And like I said, I've actually. I'll tell you what. I won't do that. I'll do it with this. And this is not an advert for Nordic Spirit. So modular nuclear power, right? Now, President Trump is working and has worked on, and there's a number of people, I think they're up to about 12, maybe 13 scientists have been nutted off in America and around the world that are working on this particular energy. And it's first of all, it uses it doesn't use plutonium or uranium, it uses something else that is not radioactive, or it's not as radioactive. But it's also quite safe, and they're developing it so you get this little cell, right? Not this, right? But that's the size of it. Now, I see a demonstration on this at the Texas conference by an energy guy, right? And don't forget, Texas is oil rich and gas rich, but there's also a massive issue with the transmission of electricity. Everyone should understand that, right? There is a massive, we're actually paying for the inefficient way in which we transport electricity to your meter, right? You're paying for the inefficiency of a system. That's always got to be wrong, right? But what they've done is they've developed a nuclear power station. It's a substation. And this little really ultra, and by the way, they can run cars on it, they can run ships on it, they can run airplanes on it, they can run everything on it, right? They get this little power cell and they plug it in. It's not uranium, it's not plutonium or anything like that. It's another type of kit, and they plug it in the thing, they twist it in, they lock it in. It's there, it's safe, and that, right, can power 25,000 houses. So a reasonably large town, right? 25,000 houses. Listen to what I'm saying to you, for 25 years, right? And its power source is coming direct from the substation. The power is direct, and it's only a small substation, and it's supplying all the electricity, right? That's what they're trying to stop, and that's why they keep nutting off all these scientists. There's something else to do with plasma. That is in relation to this new technology that President Trump has bought into in a big way, right? And there is something going on with energy, because once you give people as close as possible to free energy, there is no need. There's no need for the band transmissions, right? Of this. Tell Graham to run the Texas governor. Right. Listen, I was out in Texas. I loved it out there. Texans are like us. They might wear. I've got my cowboy out upstairs. I've got my real cowboy boots. I've got elephant skin boots. I turned up with elephant skin boots, and all the Texans was going, "Wow, I love your boots," right? And I said, "Yeah, I bought them in Georgia." But that when I just before I went in with an MP5 into the firing range, so that's how big it is, right? And basically that is the modular nuclear type technology that I believe Restore Britain are talking about. So again, remember, I'm a system engineer, right? So I look at the system, I will look at the distribution system of the network, and then look at the inefficiencies. And then part of the reason why you're paying so much for electricity is because these people expect you to pay for whilst it's them providing not even a service. The necessities of life shouldn't be taxed, right? I'm absolutely telling you that. And I think things are going in the right direction. I don't know exactly what's going on at the moment with the US and other bits and pieces. All I'm trying to do is say as much as I can to say, listen, 70% of what Restore Britain stands for are absolute. There will be differences, but I am absolutely about England. We're the only people who talk about England. I'm sick and tired of all of these people attacking the English and omitting England and the word England and the people, the English, from any recognition in this system. I think it's disgusting. I think we need to stand up for ourselves. And I'm hoping some of these people will start looking at that. And again, Andy Cabby showed a wonderful, last night I think it was, might have been this morning, showed a wonderful clip of West Streeting in Parliament having a go at Keir Starmer. And West Streeting said he was talking about patriots, listen to this wording, patriots versus nationalists, right? Patriots are the good guys, nationalists are not, right? So what he's saying is that he's actually saying that unionists, and bear in mind unionists want to destroy England with regionalisation. They have already succeeded in destroying Scotland, although Scotland just doesn't get it yet, but they will. They've already destroyed Wales, but they haven't got it yet, but they will. They're already, and Northern Ireland's on the brink, they are being destroyed systematically as we speak, right? The Northern Irish are more English than the English, and they are more worried about the Northern Irish, right? Because they've succeeded in psychological framing and destroying the message that I give you, remember who you are, right? That psychological reframing by the British and the communists, the Marxists and the fascists, to be fair, right? Because they're trying to give you a choice between two groups of people. You can either be fascist or you can be communist. No, we can be English and we can have a common law jurisdiction that doesn't allow authoritarianism, right? That is the way England's always been. That was the whole point of the Jacobites and the Jacobins, right? Listen, we was being back and fronted. But again, all I'm doing is trying to do my best to say, get out there, understand the message. If anyone wants to do a clip of me talking about that and the election things, but they really need to be told it is a serious issue, and it is extremely naive of anyone. And I wouldn't be listening to barristers because they've been trained by the system, or solicitors or any of that. I mean, I'm going to be doing a 3-day event at a political party where I will be talking about the English Constitution and explain it to people, and there will be solicitors and barristers there, right? And I've just warned the person, don't be, I'm just going to say what I think of you. He was like, yeah, try and be gentle with me, though. Right, but I don't listen. It's not personal. It's very difficult to try and say to someone, listen, you've been brainwashed. You've been psychologically reframed. You have been indoctrinated to believe something that is untrue. Right? It is difficult. I get that. I absolutely get it. And when you see me get angry, it isn't me directing anger at them people. It is me directing my frustration. All right. Listen, I may not. I've always said this. I may not be the person to lead this, right? But at least I'll be blunt and straight up. There will be no fanning around with the truth. You get the truth, and the truth is that we are English, right? Go back to Alexander Zelensky when he was asked the question, "What's your biggest bugbear?" and he said, "The people who conflate Russian with Soviet. I am a Russian. I have never been a Soviet," right? And that's it. And I've told you the story before when a woman in a shop who was Polish give me a Union flag and said England's playing tonight. I said, oh, really? Well, why are you giving me that flag? She went, it's England. I said, no, it ain't. That's a Union flag. That's not an English flag, right? And then she sort of huffed about it, and I said, where'd you come from? And she said, Poland. I said, oh, lovely. I said, you're a Soviet. No, I am not Soviet. I am Polish, right? I said, do you understand what I'm saying there? And she was like, I am sorry, you are Englishman. That's it, right? It's simple, but you'll understand it in the end. And as Enoch Powell once said, they'll learn. That's it. So I'm going to say good night, God bless. I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. There was a lot more I was going to do tonight. I got in too late. Don't forget, I ended up being hours and hours at the hospital with them playing silly buggers with my eyes. So I did have a joke with. I did have a joke. I'll have to show you this. Right, I did have a joke earlier with Janet. I phoned her up and I said, I can't see out of my right eye. And I'm on a video with her. She went, you're fucking mad. I said, yeah, I am a lot. But that was it. That's it. I'm off. Good night. God bless. Don't forget to everyone listening to this, please share it. Please subscribe to the channel. We're not the bad guys. We're the good guys here. We're trying to give you back your rights. We're trying to give you back your identity. But we can't do it on our own. You need to people, the people getting out there and doing it. And I am impressed with the more and more people I see in the faces I see in these pictures. And I'm like, yes. But we're the good guys. That's why I'm not worried. Right? We are the good guys. That's it. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. Is it going to be an after party? I don't know. Bye. Who's still is anyone still watching? I just need to ask a quick question. Is Dave in Sussex still watching the show? Dave in Sussex, are you still watching the show? Let me see if I can go back to this. Let's see if I can get to my thing. Some of you don't like it, do you? You don't. Oh, what's this? Spooky Bubba. Me. Spooky Bubba, how you doing? Spooky Bubba, are you male or female, by the way? You ain't replied to me. Keck Rangel on here. Keck Rangel. Hey, let's have a look. Dave, you're watching me from Strange Ways. Sexy boy. Let's have a look and see if he's watching. Bubba is Mal. Oh, is he? K.64 Overkill. Spooky Bubba, I'm watching you. Strange Ways. Overkill. Spooky Bubba. Do I look like a man? I haven't seen you. I'm still here, Graham. Who's that? Bovie T. Bovie T. Just to give a quick confirmation. Right. I'm going to make this minor announcement, but it's a major announcement, really. We've got a really lovely person that happens to be Dave's wife that has finally been allowed into the UK. He's been married to Mook for many years. They got 2 grown-up sons. What the British have done to them is disgusting. And just to make sure everyone understands this lady, from all accounts from Dave, is a wonderful person, and I have no reason to doubt that whatsoever. A wonderful mum and a wonderful wife. Let me tell you something. I've got no issues with that lady being in this country, residing in this country, and being with her husband, who is English, right? Just to make sure everyone's clear on that. So, a big welcome to Mook, M-O-O-K, right? There you go. From an Englishman, and from the leader of the English Constitution Party and the president of the English Constitution Society. So, welcome to England. That's it. I'm off again. Everyone stick, if they can, an English flag in the chat for Mook. So send out an English flag for Mook in there to say welcome to England. Go on, stick the English flag in there. Still 622 people watching. You can only really do that on Rumble. But stick that English flag out there. There they come. Here's the English flags. See that little one there? It's exactly like that little love art one. Look. It's like someone specially made it. There you go. English flag. Yeah, welcome home. I know another Thai lady whose name is Ya. And again, she's married to an English gentleman. There you go. There it is. Everyone in there. So hopefully Mook heard that. And like I said, welcome. Have some fun. Go out and have a look at England. You'll like it. There's no funny snakes or anything like that. There are 90 people currently watching on. I'm going to take the signal back off again now and put it back onto my live chat. Right, that's it. I'm finally off. Good night. God bless. And see you all later. Au revoir. Tiddly poo and all that. Oh, don't forget, English Constitutional Convention Weekender. Spend 2 days at the seaside with the English, exploring your inalienable and constitutional rights, what they are, why they matter, and how the state is working to take them away. 4:30 Friday, if you're in the military, 16:30, 100 hours. Friday evening, June the 5th to Sunday, June the 7th, 2026. Special guest, Mark Devlin. Main speaker, Graham Moore. June's Complex, Central Promenade, Mablethorpe, LN121RG. Everyone welcome. And I have got to do a video and upload it, which I will be doing, and showing the link and then sharing it and keeping it on my main profile page pinned so everyone can go to it. That's it. Good night. God bless.